Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Reverend Teresa Rolk. I'm the Minister of Pastoral Care here at Northwest UU. Thank you each for being present today as we celebrate the life of Kathy Scherf. When someone within our circle of connection dies, we gather in community to grieve, to remember, and to celebrate the life we were connected to. We gather in show of support of each other, and particularly for Kathy's family. We welcome the comfort that comes from being together. Being together creates a way for us to provide a space for healing, even in the midst of sorrow. Each of you come to this gathering with your own faith or personal beliefs that are sustaining and comforting to you. And today, in this space, we recognize the diversity of experiences you each bring with you and know that you are welcome here just as you are. In the Unitarian Universalist faith tradition, we begin gatherings by lighting a chalice. The chalice flame is a reminder that there is an everlasting spark of love, some say the spark of the divine, within each of us. The flame reminds us that we aspire to bring our best selves to whatever is at hand, something Kathy did consistently. So I invite Kathy's sister, Mary Beth Mailer, to come up to help light the chalice. And as she kindles the flame, I offer words of Christine Robinson. In our time of grief, we light a flame of sharing, the flame of ongoing life. In this time when we search for understanding and serenity in the face of loss, we light this sign of our quest for truth, meaning, and community. Thank you. Indeed, this is a time of searching. May our time gathered together lead us toward understanding and serenity. Now, one of Kathy's favorite poets was Mary Oliver, who is a beloved poet amongst UUs. And our reading today is one of her favorites, called Wild Geese. Kathy's colleague, Mary Ellen Yorkie, will share it with us.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Ellen Yorkie, and Kathy and I were teachers in the Durban schools. I was introduced to her by another friend when we were employed, but actually we became much better acquainted after we retired and joined a local retirees group of educators in Farmington. Our friendship grew over time as we navigated all the many changes that come to us each in life, the joys, the sorrows, the losses, parents, friends, acquaintances. This poem, Wild Geese, was written by Kathy's favorite poet, Mary Oliver. The poet was born in Maple Heights, Ohio in 1935. She had a very deep connection with the natural world, just as Kathy did. Over the years, Mary Oliver authored many collections, and she received a Pulitzer Prize in 1984. She also received the National Book Award for Poetry in 1992 for her collection entitled New and Selected Poems. Mary Oliver passed away in 2019. This poem, Wild Geese, was published in 1986 as part of her collection entitled Dream Works. It speaks to us just as Kathy would today about the inspiring beauty of nature as a source of comfort and peace. This is from Kathy's personal book. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies, and the deep trees, the mountains, and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Personally, the day after I learned that I would read this poem at Kathy's memorial service, when I awoke in the morning, there were 20 wild geese on my front lawn. I have chosen to believe that that is a sign from Kathy saying, all is right in my new world.
Next, we'll have a remembrance from Linda Gale, one of Kathy's close friends.
I met Kathleen over 30 years ago when we were participating in a personal growth group. We developed a friendship that endured and deepened over the years. We shared innumerable conversations, community theater, folk concerts, art fairs, political and cultural lectures, and more. And Kathleen often shared stories of her teaching days and how much she loved the little ones. It was apparent that they loved her as well, as she was invited to many birthdays, graduations, and other celebrations of former students. We supported one another in challenging times and shared much laughter as well. When Kathleen was diagnosed, she showed such amazing equanimity and grace. She became beloved by the staff at Carmanos as she endured so many treatments. Near the end, when I visited her in hospice, she still managed a small laugh at something I said. One of the things I miss most is Kathleen's laugh. And in that theme, I would like to share a short passage from a favorite book, The Little Prince. In one of the stars I shall be living, in one of them I shall be laughing, and so it will be as if all the stars were laughing when you look at the sky. I will be looking at the night sky and hoping to hear Kathleen's joyous laugh.
Kathy left some instructions for her family about her memorial. That's probably not a surprise to many of you. It was yet another way for her to show her care for others. It shows how it was just in her nature to make things easier for others. She wanted us to wait a couple months after her death before holding a service, to give folks time to prepare. And you should know she wanted 3 specific pieces of music at her service, and we will honor that today. The first piece is a beautiful choral piece called "Oh Love." I invite us just to take a few breaths together, holding in this space what we've heard so far as we listen to this piece. We'll continue with a couple more remembrances. First are words from Kathy's brother, Tom, that I will read on his behalf. Tom says, "Being siblings, 12 years apart, one might think that's a lot of age difference to be close. but that's untrue. We are blood, and that's that. She is a wonderful big sister, and I have many wonderful memories. Some stick out to me more than others. There was a time when I was about 8 or so, she took me to a Tigers game, just the two of us. We had hot dogs, popcorn, the whole shebang, even a Tigers pennant that I still have to this day. Then we spent the night at her flat in Detroit. And I remember the time she went with me to pick up one of our Basset Hound reserve puppies, Susie. It was about an hour away, and on the way back, we hit a terrible snowstorm. The whole time she had the puppy in her lap and was gently petting her and talking to her, comforting her. Kathy truly had a gift for that. Susie is up there in age, and I think of that drive a lot when I look at Susie. One of my favorite memories is on a warm summer evening. We had just finished some work in her garden, and she asked, "Do you want to split a beer?" "Absolutely," I said. And on the way to the fridge, the phone rang, and she told whoever it was, "Can I call you back? I'm having a beer with my bro," and giggled. After a couple minutes, my portion was gone, and she had barely touched hers. So I asked her, "Hey, think I could have a full beer next time?" She laughed, and I laughed. Kath loved to laugh. And sometimes I would make her laugh just because it would make me laugh. Near the end, she was in the ER, and I think she was at peace with what was happening. With what little strength she had left, she reached and grabbed my hand and looked me in the eyes and said, "It's gonna be okay." And a wave of comfort came over me, and even on the verge of leaving us, she was still comforting us. I thank God for letting me be a part of her life, for putting such a beautiful person on earth, for all of you coming out today, and for Ron and being a huge part of what was probably one of the happiest times of her life. Thank you all. So now I invite Ron Berry to share his memories.
I'm Ron Berry, and I'm the boyfriend. Kathy came into my life one Sunday while cleaning the church kitchen. She asked me to take a big bag of dirty dish towels home and wash them and bring them back clean and neatly folded. That was the start of our whirlwind romance. We had a lot to talk about. She talked about her students, but most of all, she loved meeting the families of her students. We talked having coffee on the porch swing. We talked about a book we just finished. After a movie at the DIA, we talked. And then we walked and talked at Carpenter Park. Sometimes we didn't talk, we just held hands. We shared meals with our friends, and we were always together on Sunday for bagels and lox. Kathy pulled me out of a very dark place and lit the way for me, as she has for many of you. We'll all miss her, always.
Thank you, Ron. Another thing Kathy requested for her service was fresh flowers, and she has you to thank, Ron, for making that part happen. They're beautiful. As friends and coworkers learned of Kathy's death, many wrote notes to Mary Beth, and she has given me some of them to share with you. A high school friend writes, I remember Kathy being so nice to me when we worked at the bank in downtown Detroit on Saturdays in 1972. I was a junior in high school. Kathy was always cheerful, and when my numbers didn't add up, she helped by rerunning my accounts. She always made me feel safe. And this from a colleague. I had the pleasure of working with Kathy for many years in the GSRP's preschool program. I always looked up to her as a mentor when I began my teaching career in 1993. Kathy had so much love and compassion as an early childhood educator, not only for her job, but also for all of her students and their families. She was truly one of a kind. We have set aside some time now for those present who would like to share a brief remembrance of Kathy. If you would like to speak, raise your hand and I'll bring the microphone to you. When you speak, please mention your name and your relationship to Kathy. Remembering there will also be time to share stories during the reception after the service. So you might take a moment, think if there's something you'd like to share, a brief remembrance, and then let me know.
Hello, my name is Tracy Gadaris. I'm a member of Northwest Church. I've gotten to know Kathy more recently in the last couple years or so. When you talk about her laugh and her smile, that is absolutely true. Anytime I saw her, she always had a kind word and a big smile for me. And I just really regret not having more time to spend with her and to get to know her even more.
Hi, my name's Debbie Crick Hammond, and what I want to share is I've known Scherfie since grade school. I've always called her Scherfie, and when we got older, I asked her, was that okay? She goes, oh yeah, no, don't change. Oh, I miss her, but she's in my heart forever. Thanks.
I met Kathy in first grade, and actually we were in grades 1 through 8, sitting across from one another, diagonally from one another. And then we went to Ladywood together, riding the bus at first, but I remember when I started driving, there was my sister and Kathy and Joanne, and then 2 other classmates all jammed into a blue station wagon and throwing our book bags that weighed probably 50 pounds, which is why we all have back issues now, in the back seat.
Hold it close. My name is Cheryl, and I went to school with Martha, and my parents were good friends with Kathy's parents. And I just remember visiting Kathy's mom at the hospital because I can't honestly remember what she had, maybe hip surgery or something. But in the meantime, I worked there too, and in the meantime, when I was visiting her, I had heard that Kathy was in the emergency room. And so I went down there, and she was so embarrassed because she's the teacher and she's the one that got hurt on the playground. So I will never forget that, but you know, having dinners at their house, I just remember her being soft-spoken and very nice.
Hi, my name is Pete Sutliff. I'm a member of this church, and I will be grateful to Kathy for her bravery in being the one person who volunteered to knock doors for me when I ran for office one year. She was very brave. She'd never done that before, but so I'm grateful.
I'm Cheryl Goldberg. I'm also a member here. Kathy and I both found this place around the same time, maybe about 11 years ago, I think. But after a bit, she graciously let me recruit her into doing all the hard work of supporting the members and coffee hours and stuff. And one day I remember she said to me, "I need to tell you something." I said, "What?" She goes, "Well, Ron and I are seeing each other." And it was just so cute the way she said that. I was so happy for her and for him.
Gotta watch out for those coffee hours, don't you?
My name is Mary Mueller, and I'm also a member here at Northwest. To follow up about Ron, I had an opportunity to visit with Kathy a couple of days before she died at the hospital. And while we were together, Ron came in, and I'll never forget the look that they shared and the touch of their hands. They didn't say a word to each other, and it was a very beautiful moment. And before I left, Kathy said to me, "Life is beautiful."
Hello, everyone. My name is Elaine Kuyansu, and I worked with Kathy at Cotter Preschool. And I just want to thank her for being a wonderful friend. I love her, and I will always miss her. And I'm very grateful.
Hi, I'm Greg Berry, Ron's son, and I just wanted to say that I told Kathy I thought she was a wonderful part of our lives after my mother passed away in 2018. I'm sorry, and that I'm glad that I had said that to her in life, and I just wanted to say, if you have somebody in your life that you love, tell them, because life is short, and you never know what's coming. So, thank you.
There'll be much more time at the reception to share more stories. So thank you for all of those remembrances. I have a few words also from her nurses and caregivers at Carmanos. Kathleen was one of the loveliest patients I have ever cared for, a beautiful woman inside and out. I loved taking care of her as she always had a smile on her face. Kathleen was always a ray of sunshine. I can still see her smile. She brought me so much joy. Kathleen was such a lovely person, and it breaks my heart to learn of her passing. She was always so kind and will be greatly missed. So, again, I encourage you to share stories. Remembering someone through story is a gift that we give to each other and to ourselves, and it helps us navigate our grief. Now, music can also be a balm for grief. The next hymn, 1064, the lyrics will be on the screen, but it's 1064 in the blue hymnal if you like to read the music. It's called Blue Boat Home. This was one of Kathy's favorites, and Knowing you are singing something that she sang and loved can bring comfort, but I also recognize that singing when you are feeling these deep emotions can be very difficult. So sing as best you can, knowing that Kathy requested this hymn.
Away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my boat. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on. Read the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue home.
You have heard remembrances of Kathy that help give us a picture of who she was. There were many others who echoed these sentiments in their notes to Mary Beth, noting Kathy's laugh, her kindness, her warmth, the bright smile that lit up rooms. Kathy wrote that she wanted to be remembered as someone who was kind, accepting, had a sense of fun, and a good sense of humor. She also planned in advance to be an eye donor, an act that shows her compassion for others and her commitment to giving and helping others even after her death. Now, we don't often hear about these acts of love after someone has died, but she and her family felt it important to share today. You should know that because of Kathy's decision, 2 women, one in Connecticut, one in Pennsylvania, have received the gift of sight. Yeah. Kathy was a teacher. It is a profession that is demanding, difficult, challenging, and often undercompensated. It's a profession that touches everyone in some way. And I would guess that everyone here has had a teacher at some point in their life. And it is my hope that you each had at least one teacher like Kathy, who made a difference, who impacted your life, even if at the time you didn't realize it. A teacher who loved their work and who loved their students. Now, some of you here are teachers, and you know what it means to devote your life to this. Kathy spent 30+ years in education, and teaching meant the world to her, even after she retired. When she was with her grandnephews and nieces or other young children, she was always aware and present and observing their development. And when she saw good parenting, she complimented parents on how they were raising their kids. Kathy knew that parenting was not an easy job. She was very much in tune with emotions and encouraged the kids she taught also to be present to their emotions, knowing it was a healthy thing to do. So she helped shape well-rounded, healthy children. Kathy's first teaching job was in 1972 in Reading, Michigan, where she taught special ed middle school for a couple years, before moving back to Dearborn, where she continued to work with special needs adults for about 10 years. And then she moved into teaching at the early childhood level. Her approach was highly interactive with the children and the adults. She was always going beyond, always engaging and clearly enriching their lives. One of the things she delighted in was her work with the Middle Eastern population that made up a good portion of her classes. She thoroughly enjoyed making home visits to families that would have a new child starting at the school in the new school year. She remarked about the graciousness of the families she visited, their culture of being so welcoming. She'd be invited in, asked to sit down and have tea with them, which gave her the perfect opportunity to see how the family interacted and what the child's environment was like. She considered this a special gift. Now, a common theme in the remembrances we've heard is that Kathy always thought about others. Her sister Mary Beth shares a story of how Kathy insisted on going with her to antique shops, something Mary Beth loves, but not so much Kathy, just because she knew it meant so much to you. Even when Kathy was sick, she wanted to shop with her sister. On one of their last shopping trips, Kathy even bought an antique brooch, even though that was really not her thing. She was oldest of the 5 kids, which was the kind of big sister siblings would want. Others have also noted her laugh. She was so easy to tell stories to, as she was just so present and would laugh so easily and joyfully with others. She truly enjoyed people. Kathy retired around 2012 and then learned only in June of 2023 she had colon cancer. True to who she was, she never once complained, but remained optimistic throughout her treatments. She was present to the disease, but didn't harbor any anger or blame. As you heard from the nurses at Carmanos, she chose how she wanted to live out her life. As many of you know, she only spent 30 hours in hospice care. And at the very end of the life, she was very much at peace. Her family and friends were there, and she had her Mary Oliver and her Rumi poems nearby. And no matter how peaceful a death may be, those remaining will grieve the loss. Grief and sorrow have no timeline. There's no point at which we say it's over. How we each experience grief is highly individual and changes over time. But what is true and important to acknowledge today, that there is an immense space that is no longer filled by this person you know as a sister, an aunt, a partner, a friend, a colleague. There's a model of grief that I am fond of called growing around grief. And instead of thinking about your grief as just shrinking over time, Imagine that grief stays the same, but your life grows again around it. What I love about this model is that it acknowledges the presence of grief without the expectation that it just disappears. Of course, that might happen for someone, but I know from my own personal experiences, from sitting with many others during their grief, that grief does not just go away. The idea that we begin to grow around it, that our world and our life and our connections with family and community expands, it cushions the grief. That makes sense to me. We return to our grief whenever we need to, or it returns to us, often at the most unexpected times. It may be when you next sing Blue Boat Home, or leave a movie theater alone, or you see kids heading into a school. But that's okay, because there is more life around us to return to when we're ready. There are friends, there's family, there's this community to catch us when we feel we are falling, to embrace us and to hold us up. Many Unitarian Universalists approach death with a sense of wonder and hold varied beliefs about what happens to one's body or soul after death. This faith makes room for each of us to hold different personal or theological understandings of what happened after someone dies. However, one thing that I am certain of is that after death, someone whom we have known and loved and spent time with remains with us, in our hearts, in our memories, in our stories, in our songs, in our poems. So in closing, I offer another poem of Mary Oliver called In Blackwater Woods. Look, the trees are turning their own bodies into pillars of light, are giving off the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and float away over the blue shoulders of the ponds. And every pond, no matter what its name is nameless now. Every year, everything I have ever learned in my lifetime leads back to this, the fires and the black river of loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. Would you please join me now in the spirit of prayer? God of many names, that which holds all, for the gift Kathy was to this world, we are grateful. For her smile and laugh that lit up rooms, we are grateful. For her dedication to teaching and making a profound impact on those she interacted with, we are grateful. For the privilege of having been able to spend any amount of time at all with Kathy in the time she had with us, we are grateful. Spirit of life, bless those gathered here, hold them in ever-abiding love. May they feel comfort in their moments of deep loss. May they realize they are not alone in their grief, and that their hearts will heal. Bless each one present with the strength to go on and the reminder to be gentle with each other and themselves as they mourn Kathy's death. Bless those gathered with peace, healing, and the presence of love, as love is truly stronger than death. Amen, and may it be so. I extinguish this flame, but not the light of love that lived in Kathy and now continues to live on in each of you. Go now in peace, my friends, holding in your hearts the deep belief that you are loved. Go into the world and spread that love and joy and laughter in the way that Kathy did so beautifully. Amen, and may it be so. The family invites you to join them in the all-purpose room just out the sanctuary and to the left for a reception. Please sign the guest book if you didn't have a chance to do so yet, and remember to pick up a bookmark that her sister has made for all of us to take. And Ron asks that some of you take some of these smaller flowering plants with you as well when you go home. So if you would all remain seated just for a moment longer so that the family may exit first and be ready to greet you. And while you do, you can enjoy this final piece of music, which was another one that Kathy chose and is one of her favorites. You'll see it on the screen.